Between the days of October 31st and November 5th, 1975, a series of brutal murders took place in North Canton, Ohio. 4 men and 3 women between the ages of 16 and 29 were targeted, with one survivor leaving an eyewitness account of 2 attackers, gender unidentified, each wearing a wolf mask. The incident is known as the Wolf Twin Murders. So hi, my name is Julian Stowe.
And I'm Alex Pisani.
And this podcast is
The Wolf Twin Murders.
So Alex and I have been fucking obsessed with this series of murders that took place in North Canton, Ohio.
Our hometown.
Between October 31st and November 5th, 1975. It's just a very strange event that seems to have no coverage whatsoever from the media. When things get posted online, they are deleted within days. There have been YouTube videos that I've followed, and those get deleted.
It seems like it's being actively suppressed. Everything we find about it, it's like a month tops, and it's gone.
It's true. And so we just decided to say, fuck it, and we are now dedicating ourselves to investigating these murders to get to the bottom of what was going on. And we've asked a series of guests who are going to be in future podcasts. We're going to post a new podcast every month, just to talk about these murders, and if you have any information, they're known as the Wolf Twin Murders, please send us an email at our contact page at thewolftwinmurders.com.
So these all, they took place in North Canton, and all the victims were found hogtied with their stomachs gutted, their throats slit, and the organs were just gone, missing. It's the only thread it seems we can find between them is the way they were murdered. These are just normal people, young people, a couple teenagers, 20-somethings, seemingly with no connection.
All of the victims were young. They were, I believe, between the ages of 16 and 29. And they were just found mutilated throughout the city, the town. And it's just, for a small town to just have no evidence that this happened, yet everybody in the town knows it exists. That's, I don't know, that to me just screams conspiracy.
It's almost something like an urban legend back home. Like, kids talk a little bit about it. Parents don't seem to want to talk about it a lot. It's almost like they're trying to make it turn into like a true urban legend, but these murders happened. These bodies were ritualistically desecrated and left on display outside in the city. People found them. They're real. And it just seems like everybody's trying to move past these vile murders. Something's not right. It doesn't add up. So
the first of these murders was David Harold. He was a 20-year-old man, and they found him gutted and throat slit. And I don't know the exact details, but I know he had been put on display in a way, I'm assuming, and keep in mind, all of our information, this is just what we've put together with what little information we've found, but he was put on display somehow and discovered by a woman, Sarah something. I don't actually know her name. We're part of this is we're going to try and find the people that were involved with being eyewitnesses to some of these events. But anyways, David Harold, he was a young student. He had gone to Hoover High School. I think he was actually working on a degree at the Kent State University Stark campus. And he was just, an undecided student. He was a churchgoer. And was either, I believe it was Trinity Baptist Church or Faith United Methodist Church.
I think it was Trinity.
Yeah, and just a normal young adult, getting ready for life, and it was tragically ended when two assailants, we still don't know the gender, attacked him while wearing wolf masks, and they apparently just gutted him entirely, and all of his organs were missing, and the throat was slit. And so we don't know what order these events happened in. We don't know if the stomach gutting was the first part, or if how the attacks happened, or if it was an immediate attack with the throat slitting.
All we have is how the bodies were left. And, most of them were found the next day or maybe 2 days later. So it's cold by then. Especially, we didn't even have DNA evidence back in the 70s, so...
And I'm convinced that any medical records were destroyed.
Oh, for sure. If you can't even keep a website up 40 years later.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, the next victim, the second one, was Stephanie Tavera. She was 24 years old. They found her on November 1st, the same state as all the other victims. Gutted, organs removed with the throat slit. They were all seemingly put on display, but this is the only one I know that was in a very public place. She was left on Morello Street. I was leaving my friend's house there, and I hit a mailbox. I've been there. And I guess she was left almost like a scarecrow, and people thought she was a Halloween decoration until, the sun had really risen, and you got a clear look at what was going on. It's horrifying.
So awful. Well, and this is particularly shocking to me. My best friend grew up on Morello Street. So that, and I didn't hear these stories for a long time until I got a little bit older. And
you probably loved it as a teenager.
Well, it just, it was just so shocking to find out that these things happened on a street that I used to hang out with, hang out all the time. We used to go for walks out in the wooded area. There was a cemetery we used to visit.
Didn't even know what you were getting into.
No idea that was, so close, that this horrible crime had taken place there. And what we know of Stephanie, she worked at a local tavern, the Giesen House, and she was a bartender. I believe she had decided not to go to college, and she wasn't in any seemingly committed relationship, but just a working woman, and her life was taken away. Most likely during Halloween night, and discovered on November 1st, 1975. The third victim was actually third and fourth victim. It was 16-year-old Paul Rader and 17-year-old Cecilia Theodore. Again, same MO, throat slit, gutted, missing organs. November 2nd, 1975. And this one was insane because it was a Monday, and they were found in their car in the parking lot of Maxie's drive-thru. They had probably parked there for the night, to do what teenage couples do, and they were assaulted by presumably the two wolf-masked assailants, and they came to a horrible demise. They were students at Hoover High School. And
high schoolers.
It's
unbelievable.
This one disgusts me because they were kids. They were babies.
Someone's covering it up. Murder of children. After that is Robert Grafton. He's the oldest victim. He was 29 years old. Same method of murder. And they found him on November 3rd, 1975, on display under a tree in Dogwood Park.
It was up on that hill. This is the hill kids go to smoke weed. They sneak up there to smoke cigarettes and smoke weed and drink beer. And
I don't know if this is true, but I was told he was sitting under a tree, just like a guy relaxing, but just with like the stomach completely open on display and the head on the side from his throat being slit.
Well, and the thing that's so shocking about this is there's that famous story called The White Wolf, where this white wolf had been seen mutilating cattle, and this hunter goes out into the woods to find the white wolf, and has his shotgun and everything. He's found the next day, maybe a couple days later, sitting under a tree, bent over, and when they pull it up, his guts have been completely taken out, and his throat is slit. And I always wonder if the Wolf Twin murderers, if they were referencing that story, because at this point in time, keep in mind, people were terrified. There had been 4 murders, all very theatrical, very gruesome, and just so out of nowhere, and and then just left on display. And it's like I just always felt that this was really the murderer's
arrogant.
It's arrogant, and it's theatrical. It adds a folklore element to it.
This is a weird one. When I was looking into Robert Grafton, I guess back in the day he was actually in like a rock band called the Wolfpack, and they played at the Carriage House.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's almost too weird to be related.
As you can see, we're both locals and very stressed out that this happened in our hometown.
Yeah,
and just doesn't seem to be.
If you can get away with it then. I feel like you can still get away with it today. And that's unsettling.
So the next attack, and officially the last attack, was Michael Mangold, a 25-year-old businessman, and Lauren Wells, actually a up-and-coming successful businesswoman. They had met at Akron University. They were walking around Price Park, which is off of West Maple, and apparently 2 assailants, both wearing wolf masks, just straight up assaulted the 2 of them. Lauren was able to get away. Michael was not as fortunate. He had been stabbed in the throat, and same MO. But this was the first time that local newspapers and the police department had actually been given a description of 2 assailants, gender unidentified, very dramatic wolf masks. And the thing, I have not followed up. We've been trying to find where Lauren Wells is now, because I'd love to get an interview with her just to see what her thoughts are on this.
If you hear us out there, Lauren, or if anybody has a lead, just shoot us an email. That seemed to be the end of the attacks in 1975. There were no more murders or suspicious appearances until Halloween came around again in 1977. Darlene Herman, 22 years old, was allegedly abducted on the night of the 30th on Interstate 77, just a little south of North Canton. And Miss Herman was actually with her 2-year-old son. They escaped the car and were able to get away, but she reported 2 men wearing wolf masks who drove them around the North Canton area toward Cleveland for about an hour and a half before she was able to get away. And
so scary.
Had her 2-year-old child. And it was only 2 years after the murders. She must have known when she saw them in the wolf masks.
Of course.
We don't know if they were copycats or something, but she reported it to the police, and it seems like she just fell off the map after that. We couldn't find anything about her or her family, and that's just crazy.
And also, to Darlene or her son, who we don't have a name for.
No, we don't.
If we could get an interview with you, that would mean the world to us.
We'd be really grateful and discreet.
Yes,
this is important.
We really would love to just get to the bottom of these murders and get everything solved, because as citizens of North Canton, it seems like our duty to make sure this gets solved.
Mm-hmm. It's been 40 years. It's been long enough. It needs to end. Should we talk about ourselves?
I'll go first.
Yeah, do your thing.
So, I personally became interested in these murders. So I grew up in North Canton. I went to Hoover High School. I never went to college. I worked at Tristan Rubber Company, basically up until it burned down. I do have a DUI. I was really young, dumb, Julian Stowe back then. I've had my problems, but I've straightened up. I'm completely sober. Yeah, and I don't know. It's these Wolf Twin murders. They're just these sort of local legends you always hear around North Canton. We used to talk about it, in high school. There was actually a friend of mine, Andy Grable. He did a paper on the Wolf Twin murders, and I remember being just really fascinated. Like, oh, that's folklore. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't until I actually was working at Tristan that I started to work with some of the older guys, and found out that they confirmed that these stories were not fiction, and they were true. And I remember thinking it was so strange that this subject that is such an important part of my hometown's history is just non-existent. It's traded off as a folk story. And that I started to look around. I went to the North Canton Library, to try and find newspaper clippings. I started going around and talking to people, and was really presented with a lot of people who were either didn't want to talk about it, or I went to the police station to ask for records, and they told me all the information was classified, and wow. I remember thinking, that's strange.
That's really weird.
It eventually led me to learning about Governor Jim Rhodes, who he was the governor.
Good old Jim.
Governor of Ohio for a couple of terms. I believe he was there from
I think it was 63 to 71. So
63 to 71, and then he was there again from 75 to 83. So he was there for a long time. And so for those of you that don't know, on May 4th, 1970, the National Guard had come to Kent State University to handle protesters. The protesters had apparently burned down the ROTC building at Kent, and it was a big Vietnam protest, and the National Guard then opened fire on the students, killing 4 innocent bystanders. Not even killing the people that were actually doing the problems. And it was a big controversy with Jim Rhodes, and to this day, I just think I think the man had a lot of skeletons in his closet. I started to find out he had connections to North Canton, Ohio, various family connections, and there's something in my gut that tells me he knows the truth about these Wolf Twin murders, and there's just something in my gut that really tells me he's a big source of why these things were covered up so intensely.
I grew up in Bolivar, Ohio, which is a town about 20 minutes outside of Canton. I always describe it as the first country town outside the city where the Rust Belt meets the woods. And it's a weird little place. I grew up with a lot of weird people. And I'd never really heard about the Wolf Twins when I was a kid. You know, maybe I was like just far enough away from the city that it didn't make it out. But I ended up finding them doing some digging in late college. Classic Northeast Ohio. I had a bit of a drinking problem myself, and I ended up kind of sequestering myself away for a year or two, just kind of like locking myself up and not doing a lot with people. And during that, I spent a lot of time on the internet, and I ended up getting into a lot of conspiracies. When you start looking around, you see confirmed cases of terrible things our government has done. MK Ultra, deposing heads of state in South America, in the Middle East. Like Julian said, having the National Guard open fire on a bunch of college kids who just didn't want to get sent away to a pointless war. There's a lot of things, terrible things, that we do and try to cover up if we can get away with it as a country. Mm-hmm. And I think this is tied in with it, to lock up police files, to take things off the internet, to get away with murdering kids, trying to murder a baby. Mm-hmm. Like, you need serious power to get away with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Jim Rhodes is involved and had part of the cover up, but I think it goes higher. I think it has something to do with like government control or training people, or like they're trying to accomplish something with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure the wolves ever went completely away. I think they might have just gotten sneakier or darker. And I think if we dig, we'll find more.
That's true. We've just decided to, just give you a brief reason for why Alex and myself are so dedicated to this podcast, and we really want to, just find the truth behind these horrific murders that happened in the 70s. And we'll be bringing on a variety of guests, experts in different ways, or people who have personal connections.
Claimed witnesses. Even.
We're going to be releasing it once a month. We haven't quite decided the date yet that it's going to happen, but
it'll be monthly for sure.
Once a month. Check us out. www.wolftwinmurders.com. We are going to do everything we can to not get shut down.
Yeah, if they pull it down, we're gonna put it back up. We'll put it back up somewhere else. Like we're keeping this around. We're not giving up the fight. They're not gonna scare us if they try to.
We're embracing the internet.
And if you guys out there listening have any information, you've heard anything, anything, please shoot us an email. We'll keep things private. We won't put any information out there you don't want us to put out there, especially identifiers. This is an important thing that we need to solve, and we might need your guys' help to figure it out, and we'd really appreciate it.
The Wolf Twin Murders by Dorian Wallace is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial 4.0 International License, based on a concept at www.wolftwinmurders.com.